Well, there's something I don't know if I ever shared with you, but I have struggled with this from the time that I was a child, and it still continues to be a struggle for me. And it's this. Cling wrap. I've never been able to do this. And there's a couple things that I struggle with. The first is even trying to find the plastic to get it off of here. And then when I do, to try to get a piece like that, and then this should be easy, but it's not. It's when you tear it off the zipper. And then I end up with this.
Yeah, exactly.
To stretch it over a bowl, which doesn't work. And then I put the bowl in the fridge for 2 weeks and throw it out. But this is what I'm usually left with. Because he clings to me, I will deliver him. Because he clings to me, I will deliver him. This is the result of original sin. We were made to cling to God. But when we receive the concupiscence, which is called the effect of original sin, our clinging became a clinging to self. And we no longer cling to God, but we cling to ourselves. The season of Lent is a time for us to uncling to ourselves and to allow God to untangle us so that we may cling to him. All of our practice of increasing our prayer, increasing our fasting, increasing our almsgiving are ways for us to uncling. And I'd like to focus on the 7 deadly sins and how each one of these sins is clinging to self and not clinging to God. So the first sin, the one we all know so well, is the sin I always say, if you don't know what else to confess, you can confess this one. What is it? Pride. Okay, so pride is the original deadly sin. Pride is clinging to ourselves. Pride is saying, I'm going to be the one who does this. And the opposite of pride is humility. It's letting God uncling us. The next sin is avarice or greed. And avarice is that sin of trying to take anything that we can from anybody else, all the wealth in the world, and we cling it to ourselves, leaving us bound up and not dependent on God. The third deadly sin is envy. So envy is when we look to something that someone else has and we want to take it to ourselves and cling to that, as opposed to trusting God and what he provides for us. The fourth is wrath or anger. Now, this deadly sin is a very interesting one because not only do we, when we cling to ourselves, when we hold on to anger, when we hold on to unforgiveness, it's like being in the microwave and cooking for too long. At some point, it's going to explode. When we hold anger in, when we hold unforgiveness, when we dwell on that anger and don't let it go, we will explode. The next is lust. And lust is the sexual sin of desiring to cling to another, not in the ways that God intends, but in a selfish way. And we hold on to that lust. We don't let that lust be transformed into love. This is an extremely deadly sin in our culture because it's so easy to access, so easy to go online, and you might not even intentionally do it, but before you know it, you can find yourself clinging to lust. The other sin that's really big in our country, I think, because we're so wealthy and food is so accessible, is gluttony. Gluttony, again, is taking everything that we can eat, eating as much as we can, and trying to hold that on for ourselves. Have you ever eaten too much at dinner and you just feel awful afterwards and you think, I'm not going to do that again? And then tomorrow night dinner happens and you eat too much and you say, I'm not going to do that again? Gluttony. That's why fasting is so important, that we practice not eating. And then the last deadly sin, the one that is behind a lot of this, is what's called acedia, which is a spiritual sloth. And that acedia is a sloth especially toward the spiritual life. It's clinging to our own routines. It's clinging to anything that else may keep us from focusing our attention on God or entering in prayer. And once more, it's not clinging to Him, but clinging to worldly comfort or even clinging to laziness. In the season of Lent, we come here before God in our prayer, fasting, and almsgiving to allow Him to uncling us. Now, by ourselves, it's impossible. I mean, this has been impossible to me my whole life. But with God, all things are possible. He desires to help you uncling to all worldly possessions in this season of Lent and to cling to Him. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. Because he clings to me, I will deliver him.